Hello, I am Duck.
I'm Shadow.
This is Zephyrus.
And today we're going to be talking about our Krypton movie. Last time we talked about Green Lantern, and we wanted to start with the Krypton. So we just had a real good time trying to do an intro there.
Hey, don't glare at me. You messed up too. She laughed.
No,
This is everybody's problem.
All three of us were trying to get the sound profile, but then every time I pressed record, one of us talked, including myself. I know. Really dumb that the guy who's pressing record ended up doing that.
So we're cutting all that out.
Yeah, but that's pretty much...
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's pretty much you. Par for the course.
Yeah, so we are splitting Man of Steel in half. We're having it so that the first half is this movie that we're pitching today, and then we have another one on that we've been writing still, which is Smallville kind of thing. So it's him Superboy, not Superman.
Which is it, like, actually based on the Smallville series, or...
No, it's just
be him in Smallville.
Yeah, it's him in Smallville kind of learning his powers and everything. We figured it'd be cool to see Superman before he's Superman on the big screen, so...
I like Smallville.
Yeah, me too.
Never watched it.
Oh!
Yeah, it's kind of sad. Anywho, so, I guess let's get started.
Alright, so I'm assuming most of our listeners are kind of familiar with Krypton, especially if you've watched the Superman movie. They did a really brief overview of it. I don't know if we should explain kind of like some of the Krypton setup.
Well, I think that you should probably explain your version of Krypton, because every cinematic version of Krypton is different.
It's true. So basically our Krypton, we liked the one we saw in Man of Steel for the 5 to 10 minutes it was there. We wanted to base ours off of that vision that they had in those. Plus comics. Yeah, so we added some stuff from the origins of what happens to Krypton during that time period. And we built a story that we thought would be very compelling and everything, so.
Yeah, so pretty much what you need to know about Krypton if you're not like a Superman aficionado is that Krypton is ruled by a council, and there's different guilds. You have it like the science, the military, and then there's like a whole bunch of other ones.
The Workers Guild, and a couple of others, yeah.
But really the only you need to know the science and the military.
At least for our movie.
Yes. And they had a huge problem with like genetic experiments, so that's kind of, we're going to go into deep...
We're going to go into deep cuts for that and have a good time with kind of explaining some of that stuff in the movie. So, Science!
Alright, so this Krypton movie opens up with two of our main characters. We have Jor-El and Non.
Yeah, Non is the mentor and teacher to Zod, and Jor-El is the big thing.
Yeah, so. He was the one who taught them what they knew. So, having our opening sequence with Jor-El and Non is really all that weird for a Superman fan, but for someone who's never seen it, be kind of like, who's that other guy?
Who's that other guy?
And
you guys are looking at me as if I don't know.
I have no idea what you know.
Yeah, we're both kind of like...
my name's I met you once.
Zephyrus.
I don't know anything.
Hello,
my
name is Shadow, and I'm this guy's friend, and I'm involved in this whole project.
I'm Duck.
So I kind of have
I'm Duck, and this is Zephyrus. I'll end up bleeping that for her.
Yeah, her name's kind of a swore.
Oh boy,
we'll bleep
it'll
it.
sound like you swore now.
We'll bleep it.
Hello, my name is
Is that a stripper name?
Oh boy, please no. Continue, guys.
Alright, so we see the two of them looking at a hologram, and the hologram goes through a time-lapse and then shows Krypton exploding. An AI voiceover says that this event is basically the inevitable conclusion. The voiceover of the AI is Kim-El. It's Jor-El personal AI that he uses. It's part of the El family, stuff like that. Non and Jor-El start telling each other that Krypton's gonna blow up, they need to evacuate. The AI Kim-El just goes like, no, we can't abandon Krypton, this is our home, we need a save the planet. Non tells Jor-El that they need to find a way to evacuate, but there's a huge problem, which is the DNA of the Kryptonians.
And they mentioned that they're like, well, if we leave our planet, we are going to deteriorate. Because that's a big thing that happened on Krypton for a long time is their genetic structures deteriorated. And like with their colonies out in the stars, that's why they fail. Is because
question: are you going to be involving the Daxamites in this backstory at all?
As of how we put it, if you live off Krypton, you inevitably die. And so the Daxamites as a culture really wouldn't be able to exist in this world because they wouldn't survive off of Krypton.
And we could leave the door open to where they could show up in the future as something where it's like, oh, hey, what the heck? Those are other Kryptons. They're like, no, we're Daxamites.
No,
kind of thing, but...
The way that it's sounding is that with Krypton genetics being so bad that they're deteriorating, it sounds like a result of their cloning process, which Daxam, they wouldn't be cloning, they'd be getting on the real way.
There's some fun stuff with that, actually.
That was like super spoilers right there, so...
I'm just saying, they're very diametrically
you gotta
adverse
watch
cultures.
the movie first before you start spoiling it.
Oh boy. All right. But let's just say that the Daxamites for now don't exist, but in the future, if we wanted to open that door, we leave it a little bit open.
Pandora's box, got it.
Yeah, it could possibly be a thing in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So both Non and Jor-El talk about how to evacuate the planet, and we kind of see them leaving the lab, and inside the lab you still see the AI with this little body look kind of upset, and it pulls up some research that it sends off in a way. You, as a viewer, you get to see that, but as characters, you don't.
Yeah, so it's sending off its different data to the councils or whatnot, so that way we can see the computer by itself kind of doing stuff, so it shows that
it's non-diegetic stuff.
Yeah.
Things that the audience is privy to that the characters are not. Yeah.
As well as it shows that it doesn't deactivate as soon as they leave.
Mm-hmm. It's capable of functioning by itself.
Yeah.
So basically setting up Brainiac, right?
Spoilers?
Come on, man. Stop it. Stop.
We're about to do lots of editing now.
Oh, boy. No, I figure, like, if he guesses a plot point, that's actually kind of good-ish.
Well, okay,
I
so...
think any Superman fan can see Brainiac coming a mile away.
Yeah.
Yeah, any Superman fan, including my sister.
Like, we're doing a Superman movie. Oh, it's Brainiac.
Oh, it's Brainiac.
Alright, so it cuts after that scene back to Jor-El. He's on a call with his brother. It rings and rings, but there's no answer. And so he goes on home to his wife, Lorvan, or Laura. She is very pregnant.
Super pregnant.
Very pregnant. Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
See where this is going.
Or what already happened. And she currently is upset with her husband. She gives him the cold shoulder when he comes on in. He goes down, like, maybe kiss her, and she turns her head, and so it's just a cheek kiss instead of,
Mm-hmm.
And why she is upset at him, you can't tell, like, she doesn't necessarily dislike him, it's just...
She's kind of annoyed. Like, she is...
They're married, you get it.
So, like...
Alright, I'm gonna have to bleep that one, too. Come on, man.
His wife to the internet.
Bleep.
Hey, who knows? We're talking about the DVC universe. I could have been talking about... I don't know.
That's what she's named after, so yeah. I'm gonna have to bleep that one, too. So what was... She made a joke that she is you whenever she's on YouTube, so you is my wife's name.
Right. For a second there, I thought she was like, wait, she stole my name, Shadow?
That's what I thought.
You.
Yeah, her name's you. So, wait. So...
Is it just a letter U?
No, it's like to confuse people. It's like,
why,
hey, you.
Why you? Or...
Yeah, it's just literally to confuse people. She did that.
I mean, it's
so good.
That is a name.
Yeah, pretty much. But she means it to confuse people. She doesn't mean it as a name.
After after she gives Jor-El the cold shoulder, he tells his wife basically the results, what had happened about Krypton. And Laura tells Jor-El basically he's blowing things out of proportion. It's not that bad. Their planet is not going to explode. It's his tendency to be over dramatic that's making them fall out of favor with the other members of the aristocracy.
Yes, because we should always listen to the aristocracy.
Well, it's something where that is something that's big on Krypton. Krypton has a huge thing with kind of castes in a way. And
yes, but tell me any caste system that has actually properly worked.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much the case. But in the movie, there is actually the guilds and the castes and the aristocracy and everything. So it is something that she's more worried about. This is part of like
the political tension of the planet at the time. So it kind of sets the theme like why aren't more people focused on this is because of their society. So after his wife gets mad at him and exposes basically the reason why she's mad at him, instead of continuing their fight, he decides to go back into his lab because he is a scientist and that's what he does when he's upset. He starts looking into why his brother isn't answering his calls, but he gets interrupted by a call from Drew Zod, or as most people know him as Zod.
General Zod.
As fun fact for those of you who are not Superman fans, Zod is his house name, not his actual name.
Yep.
And in one universe, he gave birth to Mexican Superman.
Yes, the Justice League of Gods and Monsters.
Yes.
That's a good animated thing.
Yeah, DC does animate it really well.
Yes, they do.
They just don't do live action very well.
That's why we're doing this. We're saving them.
We want to give them ideas. So
Except
they can
Wonder
actually...
Woman. Wonder Woman was a good one until...
And Aquaman.
Yeah, I forgot about that one. But Wonder Woman was good until the
last act.
Yep.
Which is what we agree with right here.
Yep.
Like we're
the last act, we're going to do changes. With Aquaman, it's just going to be
with
science.
Aquaman, we actually might have it so that we merge that one with Wonder Woman because we don't have as many gripes with those two, where we just explain the changes in bulk. Because
there's
both
just a few
of them
minor changes.
Aren't really that major with Wonder Woman. Well, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Later episode. Keep listening. One day we'll have it up.
One day, like 2 years from now.
All right. So, for interest of those who really are used to a guy being called Zod, we'll go and call him Zod instead of Drew Zod or Drew because it's easier.
I'm gonna call him Drew just to screw with people.
Do it.
Hi, I'm Drew. I'm General Drew Zod.
Alright, so anyways, Drew Zod calls up Jor-El about Non. Non has been taken before the Science Council, and
Science!
Zod is not allowed into the council because he's part of the military guild, not the science guild. So Jor-El promises that he'll head down to the council building and take care of it. So the next scene we see is Jor-El at the council building. He's talked his way into the trial of Non, and when he gets there, the trial is already in effect. And it turns out that Non was cloning. He was doing clones. Congratulations.
Yeah, that was...
You called it.
You called it. Okay, no more of that. Copyrights are terrible.
Marvel's gonna sue the pants off of us.
Or Disney, but yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Disney's probably more likely.
Yeah.
No, Disney sues everybody.
Disney
exactly.
sues everybody.
Alright, so Jor-El gets into the council and he learns that Non clones. And Jor-El, a good Kryptonian, is absolutely horrified by this. Cloning is bad. Do you want to explain to our listeners who are not Superman fan why cloning's bad?
So back in the day on Krypton, they ended up having it so in their history they cloned, but they decided they wanted to alter their genetic code while they were cloning. And because of that, they made genetic abominations, very similar to what Doomsday was. And because of that, they banned cloning, because it was horrifying to everyone.
So it's the opposite of the normal one, wherein they all are clones rather than natural borns, and Superman was the only natural born.
Opposite of the movies, yes. Because with the cloning, the way they did it in the movie is kind of similar to the comics, depending on the comic, where they do something very similar to Gallifrey, where they use a loom type thing, where they put the two genetic codes and merge them, and then... But cloning as in cloning, like you're cloning the individual, not cloning like...
Until you get a Cronenberg monstrosity.
Oh,
yeah,
Cronenberg.
yeah, it was bad. And so
It's funny how the most advanced civilizations in the universe end up making the biggest mistakes.
well, they have the most resources in order to make the biggest ones.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
they lord all of their advancement over the entire universe.
Ooh.
We're so much better than you guys,
Except
and
for
then they screw up so royally.
They're like, ooh, look at us. We're the Daleks. We're going to create a reality bomb that destroys everyone. Ooh, look at us.
Well, I mean, Daleks want to kill everything.
Yeah.
I know.
They are accomplishing.
they're just a bunch of nihilists. They just don't care.
They're like, we will exterminate everything.
Alright, so the trial progresses, and Non doesn't deny anything. He basically,
He's like, yep, I did it.
he doesn't
Whatever.
exactly like says, yes, I did it. It's more of like
Come at me, bro.
no contest like you would in our court system. He's not agreeing that he did it, but by doing the no contest, he's basically saying that he did it without the admission of guilt.
Yeah.
And he turns to Jor-El as they go to take him away, and he tries to explain to Jor-El like why he did what he did. He doesn't so much care about telling it to everybody else. It's just Jor-El.
Yeah.
But they drag him away, and the punishment on Krypton, I love this one, is lobotomy. If you do something like really terrible and you can't get that knowledge, they don't want that knowledge out, they lobotomize you instead of
So
just
when
killing
Superman goes too far, yeah.
you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really great. And
So a big thing, like that's actually a reference to the Superman movies where General Zod was in it in the what is it? Was it Watkins at that point or Reeves? I don't remember. One of the Supermen has it, so he's against General Zod back in the day, and there's on his crew is Nam, which that's a reference to him because he's the big brute who doesn't really talk. He's a strong silent type.
Nom nom.
Nom nom.
now I'm hungry. Thank you.
Thanks.
Didn't you guys just go out and eat?
No, we were waiting. Like you came.
You said that I messaged you right when you got back.
Yeah.
From,
From getting
the
guest parking.
from getting her to get
Okay.
parking. Yeah, no, because I texted you and said we might go get something to eat, and then you called me and was like, "Hey, I'm here.
There's no parking. Save
There's
me.
no park, please. No park, please. Get milk.
Alright. So, are we back on topic or not?
Stay on target.
Stay on target. No
Eyes
more.
on the prize! Alright, so Jor-El doesn't stop Non from being dragged away. He leaves the council room and goes to talk to Zod, and he basically tells Zod what had happened. And like being understanding, like Jor-El, oh my gosh, he cloned people, how terrible. Zod like flips out. He's like, this is our mentor, you should believe
He's
in
like
Non.
a father to
Yeah.
us, and da da da.
Like, how could you have done this? He got lobotomized. He's like, couldn't you try to at least argue for, like, a lesser sentence type of thing? And he goes off on Jor-El. And after this really big fight, they go their separate ways.
Basically, loyalty over morality.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the military guild right there for you.
Yeah, they're pretty much like, oh, you told me to bomb this city? We're gonna bomb this city.
Right?
Ooh.
And so this is the first time in this movie now that we're following Zod. And he goes to an apartment and you see a kid there. And this kid is Lore. It is Non's son. Lore is a nod to the comic books. And Zod comforts Lore. And then after, Lore gets a hold of himself, they decide that once Non is finished with his punishment, they're going to go collect him and take him to Zod's place.
And they'll both be under his roof, and he'll take care of them.
And he offers him that he can stay as long as he wants, and he'll be under
Welcome
his protection.
as family and everything.
Yeah. And while he's at Lore's place, there's a knock on the door, or however AIs do it, and he shows up, and you see Kim-El from Jor-El's lab.
Yep.
And he tells Zod that he has some information for him. And we cut scene again, back to Jor-El. He's back to trying to get in contact with his brother. So he's still upset about Zod, wants to talk to somebody, his wife's ignoring him, let's go complain to my brother, and brother's not answering. So he decides, since the brother's still not answering, he is going to go to Kandor.
The city that Zor-El lives in.
He flies over to Kandor, and lo and behold, what happened to Kandor?
It is a crater, and they think that it has collapsed into the ground.
Yeah, so Jor-El believes that this is a result of Krypton's destabilization.
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 Yeah, I can see where this is going, too.
Okay, yes, you've already mentioned it. You don't have to mention it again.
Well, it's just it's another one of those plots. Like,
Yeah, any Superman fan will see this coming from a mile away.
Once
We're
again,
sorry,
it's
this
like
isn't
200 miles away. Not even like you'll see it from a planet away.
You'll see it coming in from outside of our solar system.
it's
Yeah.
as though it's a planet-destroying meteor that you could have seen coming.
It's like the movie Armageddon, except for better.
Because it's all Bruce Willis instead. Every character is Bruce Willis.
Every character. I'm Bruce Willis. I'm also Bruce Willis.
Oh, let's go, Bruce Willis. We got no time, Bruce Willis.
We gotta blow up the asteroid. Wait, look at the asteroid. It's Bruce Willis.
That's right. The asteroid is a character.
Bruce Willis.
You won't be able to defeat me. I'm Bruce Willis.
Alright, so
Your Bruce Willis is not stronger than our Bruce Willis.
there's more of us than there are of you. But I am big and you are small. And I see dead people. Okay, anyways.
just randomly throw the kid in there. I see dead people. And I am also Bruce Willis.
Obviously. Do we need to take a moment? Sorry. Another bleeper.
Are you okay, Bruce Willis?
Ooh, okay. Let's continue.
Are we sure we can take like another couple seconds?
Yes, I think I'm fine.
Alright, so Jor-El, believing that this is a result of Krypton's destabilization, takes a few readings. He spends a little bit of time there trying to get all the data he can before he heads back home. So a few days have passed at this point by the time he comes back.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes back into his home, into his lab, and he talks to the AI about what had happened. And they compile data, and the AI basically ominously says, this is the beginning of the end. This is indeed the first sign of what's going wrong with Krypton.
No matter what, it is going to end, kind of thing.
Yeah. So, having talked over to the AI with this information, Jor-El decides that the best course of action now is going to the council. He has definitive evidence that Krypton is dying. They can't ignore an entire city gone. Jor-El decides that going to the council is the best course of action to do next. When he gets to the council building, things are obviously wrong. It's not pristine. It looks like there's been a battle. And when he gets in the council building, he discovers Zod has taken over.
Who greets him as a brother, like,
Yep.
Ah, Jor-El, you wonderful man.
Yep, he praises Jor-El for the gift of cloning and multiple, like, basically winning him his fight against the council. And Jor-El, not being a stupid man, shuts up and, accepts the praise.
He's like, yep, you're
Because
welcome. You're welcome.
Last time he met Zod, they did not part happily, and he's not about to tell Zod that, by the way, I didn't do this, and I don't agree with cloning.
Yeah.
I don't agree with what you've just done. He tells Zod about Kandor being missing, and he says, I have to go home basically to continue my research about this and try to basically save Krypton. Zod's like, okay, go ahead, because Zod also cares about the planet.
Go forth, my brother.
He lives here.
Yeah, he's basically like, that sounds good, and now we can work from two angles.
Right, we're no longer being hindered by the counselor and stuff like that.
Yeah, and these just ominous things all over.
Yeah, so Jor-El heads home, and he talks to the AI, Kim-El. And Kim-El, after he kind of tells Kim-El what had happened, the AI basically goes bonkers. The AI is basically like, you don't know what I've done to save Krypton and stuff like that.
I have preserved its culture. I have done everything for Krypton. I have made so many sacrifices.
This really reminds me of Smart House.
Yeah, so the AI basically continues on, and it reveals that, this AI has been passed down in the L family for generations. And the AI basically, in his rant, reveals that the original maker of the AI, a guy also named Kim-El, one of Jor-El's ancestors, was the one who kind of started tweaking the DNA of the Kryptonians. So when they left the planet, it would cause them to die.
because he was more of an extremist and felt that the Kryptonian culture would basically fade away if they left to space.
Well, he lived during the time of the great space explorations where all the Kryptonians leading the planet, and he felt like that was diluting the culture, new things were coming back. He did not believe that this should be the way Krypton should go.
So he was an isolationist.
Yes, extremely. And this was the reason why all the colonies failed. It's because of the DNA tampering. And so the Kryptonians literally cannot, at this point, leave their planet without dying.
Yeah.
And Jor-El shuts down the AI so he can now find a way how to re-edit the DNA in order for Kryptonians to escape the planet. Problem is he's working on a deadline, and there's only one person he can think of as saving with the DNA edit. Is his unborn son.
And he doesn't really want to let out all of this information to anyone, because if it leaks back to Zod,
then everybody's dead, and Zod's gonna
go out to the stars and really screw things up.
Yep, and so Jor-El tells his wife basically what he had discovered, and the two of them, both brilliant scientists, work as hard as they can to save their son. And during this period of time, they also repurpose one of Non's spacecrafts to be the shuttle for their son, and the planet becomes even more and more unstable. It gets to a point where Zod basically goes to Jor-El and is like, what have you discovered? We really need to find a way how to evacuate the planet. The planet, is doomed. Type of thing.
And Jor-El is basically like, oh, well, I might have figured out a way to edit our DNA, but it's not ready yet, kind of thing.
Yeah, he keeps kind of putting Zod off because there's no way to save everybody at this point. There's literally no way. They're a bunch of grown humans. The DNA edits won't hold. Stuff like that. Zod doesn't quite believe Jor-El. There has to be a way. So he starts prepping his own spaceship in order to save the people that he loves and cares about.
Yeah.
He also mentions to Zod about, as they're running out of time, Jor-El and Laura basically end up with the edit for the DNA, and they manage to save their son. She has the kid. They barely send him off before the planet starts exploding. But before, that whole scene goes through, Zod goes to Jor-El's place and basically starts to confront him about the cure. We need it. We need to get off the planet. The planet is destabilized at this point. We're all going to die.
And Jor-El is basically like, I know.
Yep, and Jor-El finally tells Zod basically what he thinks about him. He used the clones. He did, all these horrible things.
He is a
took
monster.
over, took over the Science Council. He's pretty much a monster.
Yeah, and he's caused this doomsday to their planet, kind of thing.
Name drop.
I cannot resist.
I can't.
So as Jor-El holds off Zod, Laura gets baby Kal-El into the pod and zooms off into space. Zod realizes that Jor-El doesn't intend to survive and is just basically going to stay on the planet and die. He heads back to his own spaceship and basically calls up everybody he knows, and it was like, we need to evacuate now. We cut scene to Lore back in Zod's place with Zod's wife Ursa Zod, and we see Non basically save the wife and the kid in order to enable them to make it onto the ship. We want it to be a really touching scene where lobotomized Non, does the sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
And so they all get on the ship, Zod, Ursa, a few other people, Lore, and the ship starts to take off, but the planet's too unstable, and before the planet, the ship escapes, it's damaged. And so the planet explodes and they're all out in space with the damaged ship.
Which has been damaged in such a way that it's not able to navigate very well. It's not able to go as fast. It is not really a spacefaring vessel at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically just a drift.
Yeah, and so they have to enter stasis in order to travel to any other viable planet. Or else they're just going to, be like the generational ships are going to age and die, and there's going to be nobody alive when the ship arrives.
As well as they're worried about more of the genetic degeneration because they were not able to.
If they don't enter the stasis, they're going to deteriorate and die, not that there's no longer Krypton. And so Lore, devastated by the loss of his father, he says that he's going to stay out and fix the ship because he's not part of the military guild. He's science. And he's like, I have the know-how to fix this ship. I can save us all. Zod's like, no, you're basically like a son to me. I can't let you do this. And Laura's like, I'm the only one who can. I'm going to save you all, even though it's going to kill you.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty much like the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Except you have a little cutscene where you see Brainiac going whoop, away from the planet.
I think you called earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's just a lot of things packed in there for future things. Although, where, if you are planning on incorporating her at all, where would Kara be in? Or is she in the city that Brainiac took?
At this point, she would be at Kandor. She wouldn't have been escaped like Kal-El did.
Yeah, and that's something where we can bring
that...
Kara into the universe if we want to.
It's the only way it could have happened because it wouldn't have had her genes fixed.
Yeah. Yep.
And then don't we have another end credit?
We did have an end credit. So that was the movie. The end credit was, I guess, technically where Laura and Zod talk about the spaceship.
Oops.
The second after credit was following Kal-El's craft as it hurtles through the sky and basically lands on the kids' farm. You see Ma and Pa come out of their farmhouse.
Ma! Pa!
Well,
and then that would be the end of it.
With a couple of things, I think the way that we were talking about the movie actually ending is their ship is about to go, and then you see the planet explode, and you see Jor-El and Lara embracing, really, as the planet blows up.
Very, very touching, heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And then we have the thing
the after credit scene with Zod
and all that. And we feel like it's a movie that adds to the Krypton stuff, and it gives you backstory for why Zod hates Clark Kent. Like, he is not a fan of Superman whatsoever, because he is the son of the man who betrayed everything, pretty much, in his eyes.
Jor-El, according to Zod, let Krypton die. I mean, it doesn't get much worse than that with a guy whose entire purpose as a military guild is preserve Krypton and Kryptonians, and he just failed.
Yep, and his only sense of morality is his loyalty towards his duty. He doesn't have an individual sense of moral code that he abides by outside of just loyalty.
So basically we've tweaked it so instead of him having an idiotic motivation where it's like, I need the codex and also I'm gonna make it so this one planet gets terraformed when there's a perfectly good planet just a little bit down the road, I'm gonna destroy everything you love. It's more of, I'm going to destroy everything you love because your father did that to me.
And also he needs Kal-El's DNA in order to survive.
And that's a great point to leave off on, so we'll leave you guys here. Remember, watch more movies.